Have you ever faced a moment when everything around you seemed beyond your control, yet somehow there was a greater power at work? In ancient Egypt, a single nation's stubbornness set the stage for one of the most dramatic stories in history, a story of power, pride, faith, and freedom. This is the story of the 10 plagues of Egypt. The people of Israel had been slaves in Egypt for over 400 years. Their lives were filled with hard labor, pain, and hopelessness. But God heard their cries. He called a man named Moses, once a prince of Egypt but now a humble shepherd, and sent him on an extraordinary mission. Go to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and tell him, "Let my people go." Moses, hesitant at first, obeyed. Alongside his brother Aaron, he walked into Pharaoh's palace and delivered God's message. But Pharaoh's heart was hard. "Who is this Lord that I should obey him?" he scoffed. And with those words, a battle began, not between nations but between a king and the God of heaven. Moses struck the Nile River with his staff, and every drop of water turned to blood. The fish died, the river stank, and the people had no water to drink. Pharaoh's magicians copied it, so he ignored Moses' warning. But the land of Egypt began to suffer. Then came frogs, millions of them. They leapt into houses, kitchens, beds, even Pharaoh's palace. Desperate, Pharaoh begged Moses to pray for relief. Moses prayed, the frogs died, and Pharaoh promised freedom, but he broke his word. Next, the dust of Egypt became swarms of lice crawling over man and beast. This time, Pharaoh's magicians couldn't copy it. "This is the finger of God," they whispered. But still, Pharaoh's heart was stubborn. Suddenly, the skies filled with swarms of flies so thick they darkened the land. Yet in Goshen, where God's people lived, there were no flies. It was a sign. God was making a clear distinction between his people and Egypt. The next blow struck Egypt's wealth. Horses, donkeys, camels, cattle, and sheep, all their livestock dropped dead. But once again, Pharaoh hardened his heart. Then, without warning, festering boils broke out on every Egyptian and their animals. Even Pharaoh's magicians were covered and could not stand before Moses. Pharaoh refused. Moses raised his staff and the skies opened. Massive hailstones mixed with fire rained down, destroying crops, animals, and homes. But in Goshen, where the Israelites lived, not a single stone fell. God was proving his power, but Pharaoh still clung to pride. A strong east wind blew across the land, bringing billions of locusts. They devoured every green leaf, every tree, every crop left after the hail. Egypt was ruined. Pharaoh begged Moses again, "I have sinned. Pray to your God to take this away." Moses prayed, the locusts vanished, and Pharaoh broke his promise, again. For 3 days, a darkness so thick it could be felt covered Egypt. People couldn't see each other, couldn't leave their homes. Yet, in the homes of the Israelites there was light. Still, Pharaoh refused to set them free. Finally, God warned of one last plague, the most devastating of all. Every firstborn son in Egypt, from Pharaoh's palace to the poorest home, would die, unless they followed God's command. The Israelites were told to sacrifice a lamb and mark their doorposts with its blood. That night, the Lord passed over every home covered by the blood. But in Egypt, a terrible cry rose into the night. From Pharaoh's palace to every corner of the land, the firstborn died. Crushed and broken, Pharaoh finally called Moses, "Go, take your people and leave Egypt." After 400 years of slavery, God's people walked free. The story of the 10 plagues isn't just about punishment. It's about freedom, faith, and the power of God. Through each plague, God showed that he alone is in control, over nature, over kings, and even over life and death. For the Israelites, the blood of the Lamb meant salvation. For us today, it reminds us of Jesus, the Lamb of God, whose sacrifice offers freedom from sin. No matter how impossible life seems, God's power is greater. No heart is too hard, no chain too strong, and no darkness too deep for him to break through. This is the story of the 10 plagues of Egypt, and the God who saves.